Good morning, everyone. I'm Susan Demas, the executive editor here at Lincoln Square. And joining me, as always, on Tuesday morning is Edwin Eisendrath, who hosts It's the Democracy Stupid right here on Friday afternoon on Lincoln Square. Edwin is a former Chicago alderman, the former CEO of the Chicago Sun-Times, and he also writes his own Substack, which is also called It's the Democracy Stupid. Thank you so much for being here, as always, Edwin.
Always a pleasure, Susan.
Well, I think we have our longest list of topics ever. I think I counted at least 10. So we'll see how much we get through. It was a particularly crazy weekend. I want to start with North Korea because I have to admit, I did not have this one on my bingo card. I never expected a president, even this one, to announce joint military exercises with North Korea because he's throwing a temper tantrum over the fact that South Korea, in addition to just about every other country, said, no, we don't want to throw in with you with your war of choice in Iran. North Korea is a dictatorship. It is one of the least free places on earth. It has been a longtime adversary of not just the US, but the West. And during Trump's first term, he was very militaristic towards North Korea. But clearly, Edwin, he sees himself in lots of dictators across the world, Putin, Xi. So I suppose, why not North Korea, right?
So let me start with where you started. We have a long list of things to talk about, and we will every week because this madman is throwing everything against the wall in order not to be held accountable for the terrible job he's doing as president. Every week between now and the midterms, and then as we approach the next election, it's going to be insane. It reflects his mental state. On North Korea, look, people have worried for a long time that we are abandoning Asia. And we have all kinds of reasons to think that his meetings with Xi and, how much he loves Xi, but also the withdrawal. I mean, this is the first time we won't have an aircraft carrier in the Pacific in God knows how long because he's dragged absolutely everything to the Gulf. So people worry that we're abandoning Asia. But now we know it for sure because Donald Trump has said, I'm switching sides in Asia. I'm on the side of the dictators, as he did with Putin and Ukraine when he was elected. He said, no, I'm sorry, America was on the wrong side. We're throwing in with Russia. He's throwing in with North Korea. And let's be clear, his sense that South Korea didn't help us with the Strait of Hormuz, I'm sorry, North Korea is supplying weapons to Iran and to all its proxies, to the Houthis, to Hezbollah, to Hamas, and to Iran directly. So North Korean weapons are taking out American assets on bases, taking out our allies' assets in the region on bases. And Donald Trump says, yeah, I'm their guy.
We also know that Putin is helping Iran as well. And he has just flat out denied that that's happening in spite of his own intelligence agencies telling him.
He is lying, as he always does. And God knows what he's getting paid to lie, but we now know that that's how he makes his decisions. So this corrupt, terrible president is throwing in with America's adversaries. He doesn't get to decide that we switch sides in war. He doesn't get to decide whose side this country's on. That's Congress's job. That's the American people's job. And if he wants to flirt with our enemies, well, let's call him on it. But abandoning South Korea to that murderous dictator in the North. By the way, for those of you who read novels, The Orphan Master's Son is a great novel about North Korea. Came out about, 5 or 6 years ago. But right, North Korea is a terrible place. People are not free in any way in North Korea. And North Korea does things like send troops to kidnap people off the beaches in South Korea to bring them back up north to be slaves. I mean, it's just an appalling, terrible place that, Donald Trump said would never get nuclear weapons. And then they did. right? He was the president when that happened. And now he's their friend because they have them and because he went over there and got love letters. He's insane. And this is not in America's interest. And it doesn't make the world safer. In fact, he is destabilizing the world in ways that I'm terrified. I mean, there's so many real problems, Susan, from climate change to our own economy. But global nuclear war still is a problem, something to be worried about. And this man is making proliferation a thing that is going to happen. He's already done a nuclear deal with the Saudis that includes no inspections. Right? And to put more nuclear weapons in that dangerous part of the world. He says he's stopping Iran from getting a weapon. He's just motivated them to absolutely get a weapon when they were stopped before. And abandoning American deterrence in Asia, being on the wrong side in Europe. By the way, he's undermined NATO. We could talk about that too recently. Very, very dangerous. Very dangerous. Oh, and every Republican in Congress is guilty of letting it happen. And we should never forget that. Every single one of them, because he could be stopped if they had any balls.
Yes. But Congress has abdicated their responsibility under Mike Johnson, and they have completely abdicated their responsibility under Article 1 of the Constitution, because Congress is supposed to be the entity that declares war, and they refuse to do so.
They picked a side. They didn't just abdicate, they chose.
Right.
How the party of Abe Lincoln became the party of Jeff Davis is a long story, but oh man, they are there on the wrong side.
And Edwin, we should also note that, several decades ago, the United States was involved in the Korean War on the side of the South Koreans. There were thousands of casualties, and this is a huge abandonment of our veterans of the Korean War for Trump to throw in with North Korea. And I understand that a lot of people in MAGA are not really steeped in history, but I would invite them to go and explore that history. They can go to the Korean War Memorial, which is very close to the reflecting pool that Donald Trump has screwed up in Washington, D.C., and they can see the monument to all the people who died in that conflict. It is just a huge betrayal of America, our veterans, and our fight for freedom, which up until Donald Trump, we used to believe in. I think we have some footage of Trump talking about North Korea.
Someone has always treated me with great respect, and we met on numerous occasions, actually, 2 primary occasions, spoken and spent time. I understand him, he understands me. You're doing war games. I get along with him. He didn't like Biden, he didn't like Obama, he didn't like anybody, but I get along with him very well. Now, what I'm doing is making things safer. Just the opposite. Quiet. You're very disrespectful in front of this young man. Okay? Don't you find her disrespectful? He understands. Quiet. Who are you with?
I'm with CNN.
Fake news. You're fake news. You're a loud, boisterous person. You're fake news. Be quiet. Be quiet. Be quiet. You're a fake reporter, and you report fake news. Go ahead.
Mr. President, is there...
I want to talk about this because this clip said so much to me. First of all, he starts out by lauding Kim Jong-un, a murderous dictator, and saying, I get along with him. We're 2 peas in a pod. And then it transitions to Trump yelling at a female CNN reporter, as he does quite often, telling her that she's disrespectful because, of course, in North Korea, reporters aren't allowed to ask questions, and that's exactly what Donald Trump would like for America.
I didn't see an American president in that video. I saw a feckless traitor. He says, I am being respected. If his idea of respect as the president of the United States is that the guy who's respecting him is giving arms to people who are shooting at our soldiers, and he thinks he's being respected. If that's his idea of respect, he is, well, again, another example, completely unfit for the job. And how dare those Republicans let him continue when he is cozying up to people who are giving arms to our to people he's declared war against, to people who are shooting at Americans. And he is saying, that's my idea of respect, right? That's my idea of respect. He respects me because I'm letting him shoot at Americans.
Right.
To hell with the man. And then he's furious at a reporter for trying to hold him to account, the tin pot dictator, raving at the camera like I just was. But you know what? He's the president of the United States. He has to know better. And freedom of the press is core to who we are, and he is challenging it everywhere he can. Thank goodness he doesn't control, the independent outlets that have sprung up in America. But like take ABC, The View was one of these things he went after. Now ABC's fighting back here, but The View has not had a political guest on since they were on the spotlight by him. It has an absolutely chilling impact.
Right. Right. Well, and let's talk about the conflict with Iran, because the 60-day MOU has now expired. Donald Trump says there's no plans to revitalize talks. The most bizarre part of this to me is that in a Fox News interview, Donald Trump said, if Oman gets in the way, we'll bomb the shit out of them. Let's do a little refresher here. Oman is an ally of ours, or used to be, was absolutely vital in this process to try and have some sort of a peace process. I don't know if Donald Trump got confused and thinks they're our enemy now, but this is a person not acting like a president who is threatening to bomb our allies, who's throwing in with North Korea, and thinks that he can set the terms of what's going on in the Middle East by tweeting out that, hey, the Strait of Hormuz, which was open before we got into the war with Iran, this is now going to be part of U.S. territory. He thinks that he can make peace by Truth Social. I mean, this is just a level of delusion we haven't seen. I know we've all seen the crazy George Washington AI videos and posts that he does in the middle of the night, but this isn't just something stupid that our president is doing because he can't sleep, or because his human printer, as they call her, his assistant, Natalie, is posting for him. This has real implications for not just U.S. foreign policy, but the Middle East and world peace in general. It's incredibly frightening, and this is why putting a madman in power in not just one country, but the lone superpower in the world is so dangerous, because this is incredibly destabilizing, Edwin. And you've spent so much time working in the Middle East. Where are things at today? And how do we put things back together eventually?
I have very good friends in Oman. It's a beautiful, peaceful country. The Middle East is a powder keg, and it's a very dangerous place. This war could expand dramatically. It's certainly no path towards ending, no path towards peace. When the United States isn't serious, you send Jared Kushner to try and negotiate. He's like, okay, well, you can invest with me here, but geopolitical peace, he doesn't understand it. He's failed every time he's tried. The Board of Peace, the so-called Board of Peace in Gaza, they announced, what was it, a year ago, that Gaza was going to be beautiful and everybody would go to work and it would be a lovely place. It's still a hellhole for the people who live there. It's still a battleground. And
the West Bank is ready to explode.
And all around Israel, the behavior of the right wing in Israel, and the right wing is in the government, people like Smotrich, are despicable, inhumane, doing terrible things to people. This morning I read, I hope it isn't true, that they are like putting numbers on people in the West Bank as the Nazis did to people in the concentration camps. I hope that story is false, So the Smotrich and the right wing doesn't get the benefit of the doubt. They don't deserve it, right? So Israel is behaving oddly, like a conqueror, and not like anybody wants to make peace, and bloody. They were everywhere. The proxy armies that were badly damaged, the Houthis, the Hamas certainly, and Hezbollah, they're still there, and they're still fighting. And they are rallying people around them because the other side, the Israeli side and the American side, are not trying to make peace. They're not trying to make peace, so they don't have they're not winning over hearts and minds. Right now, very few people over there think peace is in their interest. They think they can get an edge. The ones who do think there should be peace, like the Saudis and the Emiratis, and they have a lot to lose, and they would like to see peace. And they thought Donald Trump was their ally, and now they realize he is not. So nobody trusts anyone over there. They'll be making deals with other powers in the world. I mean, the era
China,
when
Russia
in the United States is coming to an end because of Donald Trump. The era when we put our best character forward to shape the world is over because of Donald Trump. And Susan, you asked, I don't know, what is it going to take to set things right? Decades. And America will never be, I'm sad to say, will never be in the position it has been in for the last 60 or 70 years, which is leading a free world, standing up for human freedom, and making the world a better place for us and for most people in it. Now, God knows we haven't been a perfect great power, but we've been a better great power than what much of the world has seen in much of its history. And to go back to where you started, there was a time when England was a great power, and they put a mad king in, George III. And you know what? He lost the biggest chunk of the world they had. He lost the Americas because he was a lunatic, right? And England taxed us, and we had no representation. And in the 1860s, Americans said, "Hey, we just want to be treated well by England. We're happy to be English citizens." And by 1870s, they were like, "Forget this."
1770s.
70s. Sorry, I'm off by 100 years. Sorry.
No worries.
Yep, got my numbers backwards. But it took like 10 years of bad king behavior for the world to change utterly, and England never recovered right from that. And you know what? We're into 10 years of Donald Trump being the dominant thing in America, and we may never recover.
The truth is that we put the absolute worst person in power in America twice. And he has now empowered some of the absolute worst people in the entire world, from Kim Jong-un to MBS in Saudi Arabia. He has burnished the power of the Iran regime by going to war with them. Putin, Xi, he has empowered all of these people. And I thought you were going to say he's empowered the worst people in the world, and I thought you were going to say Hegseth and it's true.
They go through his cabinet.
And I didn't even get to Netanyahu yet. But I mean, it is an administration that is rotten from the top on down. Mm-hmm. And he has destabilized the world, and there is a reason why. As we established in the 2016 election, that Vladimir Putin was doing whatever he could to empower a Trump win, or at least hobble Hillary Clinton, who most people thought would win in 2016, because he saw this as a great destabilizer for American power and for the world. And he has been proven absolutely correct. And I understand that most people don't vote on foreign policy, but as much damage has been done domestically in terms of Trump's deportation agenda, what he has done to the economy with tariffs, what he has done to the world will be even harder to unwind and almost impossible.
Right, and a big black mark on the United States forever. But foreign policy is domestic policy these days, because his tariffs and his war have raised prices for everyone on everything. His mass racist deportation has created labor shortages in important places, right? So everything is major policy choices foreign facing mostly, 2 out of 3 of them, have had amazing domestic consequences. And Americans see it and Americans don't like it. And Americans may say, I'm not voting on foreign policy, but I just drove by the gas station. And are you kidding me? And they turn out to be related. Terrible leadership has consequences, and this is the worst president we've ever had in terms of job performance. Then leave aside the fact that he's insane, leave aside character, leave aside all those horrific people that he surrounded himself with, and just look at the outcomes that he's delivered to Americans. Those outcomes are appalling. We have bigger monopolies. We have the biggest oil company profits ever. Those profits are coming out of everyone's pocket who has to go drive anywhere, right? We have people struggling like they haven't in a long time. We have people challenged to pay their healthcare bills, and that's going to get worse. The week right after the election, the big, beautiful bill's biggest cuts are coming. They hid them until after the election. So it's only going to get worse. And he can't outrun the consequences of his terrible decisions. They impact all of us. So he can lie and he can look right in the camera and say, oil prices are down and gas prices are down and America is leading the world and everybody's happy and, Haitians are eating their neighbors' cats. None of it's true.
Right.
None of it is true. And Americans now know it. They now know it. So the Republican Party is trapped because Donald Trump has a base that's violent and ugly and will stand with him to the very, very end. That end is coming, but it means that Republicans, as they go to the general election, they can't tack away from Donald Trump because then they'll lose their right-wing voters. They can't win if they tack away from Trump, and they can't win if they wrap their arms around Trump. So we're in a good place to start cleaning this ugly, ugly house.
Before we talk a little more on domestic policy, I do think we need to talk about the USS Lincoln, which has been at sea, deployed for over 260 days. That is a very sad record. The conditions that sailors are facing there are appalling. There was actually one sailor who jumped off the ship because of the conditions. I want us to play what Donald Trump had to say about all of this.
Members of U.S. service members are concerned about the conditions on board the USS Lincoln.
Well, no, that ship is moving. No, they're not. That ship is moving right now, or very shortly, and it's being replaced with another very similar ship.
Has the deployment's gone on too long? Are you worried
No. Not nearly long enough. Thank you, everybody.
That is the contempt that Donald Trump has for our men and women in uniform. With the conditions that they are facing, he says their deployment is not long enough because sacrifice is for other people. It's never for Trump. It's never for his billionaire friends. It's never for his family. All of them are profiting very handsomely off of the government. Well, our service members are suffering. 18 of them have died. Hundreds more have been injured. And those who haven't even faced injury are still facing appalling conditions. And our president could not give a damn.
Look, they are not suffering because they are behind enemy lines and trapped. They are suffering because Donald Trump has mismanaged this war and doesn't care about them, right? I mean, early in the war, the place where they were being resupplied from was hit by missiles from Iran.
Right.
Pete Hegseth went to Congress and lied. Now the supply lines for those ships are all the way to Diego Garcia, 2,200 miles, almost the length of the United States away in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. That's where they're trying to resupply these ships from. So no wonder they're out of food. No wonder the toilets don't work. No wonder the water has been recycled enough times so it's barely drinkable. No wonder the people on those ships have lost 10, 12, 15 pounds, everybody. They're really suffering there. And they're doing their job, trying to do what they think they're ordered to do to protect Americans when they have this traitorous president wrapping his arms around the dictator in Korea who is giving arms to shoot at those very same people. So it's contempt. It is terrible management. I mean, Pete Hegseth, I wouldn't trust him to go buy me groceries, to get that right. Like, here's the list, there's the car, there's the grocery store. He wouldn't be able to get it right. Complicated military logistics. Let's see. My highest priority is to make sure that Don Jr. gets the contracts for whatever it is, and the rest will take care of itself. And you know what? It's not. It's complicated. So when they bomb our resupply base and he lies about it to Congress because he doesn't want them to know that we've been hit, and then he doesn't figure out how to do the logistics. I mean, just, look what happened to Napoleon when Napoleon was actually good at this stuff. But he got all the way to Moscow and his logistics got messed up. He didn't have a supply train behind him and they got slaughtered. Absolutely slaughtered. Everybody got slaughtered. This is Pete Hegseth. And they went there to loot. This is what Pete Hegseth and these guys are doing. They're going there for oil wealth. They've screwed up our supply lines. Our soldiers are paying the price for it. And he's going to Congress and lying and thumping his chest and saying the problem is there's not enough testosterone on the boat. That isn't the problem, isn't there's not enough testosterone on the boat. There's not enough food on the boat. There's not enough clean water on the boat, And Donald Trump now says, and the other problem is we should send them back 50 years and put steam catapults on them instead of the electromagnetic ones that are the new ones. He wants to go backwards. Next thing you know, he's going to say, what we really want is square rigged ships and bayonets, because those look cool, didn't they?
Yeah. We've also seen an incredible militarization with ICE. And the latest development for the Trump administration are these shock gloves, which will make it even easier for them to deliver, to shock people, American citizens, immigrants, whoever. And the most appealing thing, it seems, for the Trump administration is it will be harder to keep any of these agents accountable for the damage that they're doing to people that they're detaining. This is just, I have to say, the level of cruelty that the Trump administration has demonstrated with their immigration policy. I think so many of us were utterly horrified during Trump 1 with all of the images of kids in cages and their policies at the border. But to me, the most frightening thing has been that Stephen Miller and all of Trump's henchmen have really taken the time to study and learn from their mistakes and their inefficiencies during Trump 1 so that they can crank it up to 11 during Trump 2 and inflict as much pain and suffering on people as possible. And I understand that this is horribly unpopular, even with many people who voted for Donald Trump, but the sheer level of cruelty here, I mean, this is something that I guess I naively never thought that I would see in America again, even under Trump.
ICE is deporting a record number of people right now. They're between 2,000 and 3,000 people a month. They are pulling out of line when they go to court to do what they're supposed to do.
Right.
They're taking them from their workplaces where they are working and contributing to our economy. They are now not in the same kind of surge they had with Greg Bovino, but they are very effectively taking immigrants off the streets and deporting them. And it's hideous. They do not need, under any circumstances, these shock gloves. They are succeeding in taking these people out of our country, as bad as that is today. They don't need them for anything other than terror. That's what they're doing to America. They want to show up and terrorize, right? And I wouldn't be surprised to see these gloved folks around our polling places. Terror is what they're trying to do. And once again, Congress should stop them.
Right.
Should say these are illegal. You can't use them. $0 for this. Congress has the purse. They can do this. But they won't, because the Republicans chose sides, Susan. They chose the side of cruelty. They chose the side of terror. They chose the side that wants to end American democracy and steal whatever they can.
And There is a company in Kentucky that got this contract. That's another part of this story, is how many private companies, whether they're the ones that are building the deportation holding cells, or the ones that are developing this horrific technology like the ice gloves, they're getting rich off of people suffering. Donald Trump is rewarding a lot of his donors and his friends. But, I think, Edwin, we really can't ignore the fact that there are people there are companies in this, in our country that are profiting extremely handsomely off of this deportation agenda. And not only should the Trump administration be held accountable for this, but these companies have to be as well. There has to be justice there, because it is unconscionable for them to make millions or billions of dollars off of people's deaths and suffering.
Years ago, I told a wonderful, actually, reporter at the Chicago Tribune who was asking me about corruption. And I was, very involved in Chicago politics. And I said, you ought to look at the private sector. There's and they laughed me out of the room. But, for every politician who takes a bribe, it's somebody on a corporate side who wants something and is willing to pay that bribe.
Right.
Donald Trump may pardon his family, he may pardon his government officials, but he isn't going to pardon every company and every person in those companies who handed over the cash for what they got. So people should know, and statute of limitations is going to run well past his presidency. Right. Those of you who are handing over cash to this criminal because you think it's short-term gains for you, and the rules of democracy don't really matter if I can make some money, then right. You know what? We're going to come after you too.
Yeah, the Department of Justice will not always be run by Todd Blanche, who over the weekend said the quiet part out loud and said, no, of course the Department of Justice, in so many words, is not independent of Donald Trump. And when he was asked if Donald Trump asked him to do something illegal, would he say no? He deflected. I think we have that clip.
Be President Trump's former personal defense attorney. Can you pledge that the Justice Department will always act independently of the White House?
Well, there's a big difference between saying we will always do our job and investigate any case and act independently of the White House. No, I'm not going to pledge that, and no attorney general should ever pledge that. The president, if I were to pledge I will be independent of the White House, what that means is that if President Trump says, I want the Department of Justice to go after every violent criminal in this country, which is what he has said, what you're saying to me is I should say, no, sir, not going to do it. So I will act with integrity. Our prosecutors will act with integrity. We will prosecute without fear or any sort of favor. And that's exactly what we've been doing, and that's what every Department of Justice should do.
Well, I guess big picture, if the president asks you to do something that you feel crosses an ethical or legal line, would you do it?
The president will never ask me to do something unethical or legal or illegal. He never has. He never will.
This is a complete rewriting of history for people who don't pay very close attention. Todd Blanche is counting on the fact that people don't remember history before Donald Trump, and that every Department of Justice acted independently. If they didn't, Merrick Garland probably would have prosecuted a whole lot more people for January 6th than he ever did. Joe Biden, made comments that he was very disappointed that Merrick Garland didn't, and got a lot of flack for that because there were totally different rules for Joe Biden than there are for Donald Trump. But the Department of Justice has to be independent. That has to be what happens under the next president and every other president after that, because we've seen the extreme damage that having a Department of Justice head, an attorney general like Todd Blanche or Pam Bondi, when they think of themselves as the president's lawyer instead of the country's lawyer.
Todd Blanche says the president will never ask him to do anything illegal, yet Todd Blanche's signature is on the document that the judge said was illegal, and that is the slush fund and immunity deal he gave to Donald Trump. The two people in that deal are him and Donald Trump. So if Donald Trump's never asked him to do anything illegal, and he went ahead and did this illegal thing, then what was he, just making a gift to Donald Trump? Here, sir, I'm going to do this illegal thing for you that you didn't ask for, that you benefit from.
Well,
Right?
it's the old paraphrasing. If the president does it, it can't be illegal. That's the rubric that Todd Blanche and Donald Trump live under. And they just want their immorality to become the country's immorality.
Yeah, well, right. Look, we are in a huge, dangerous fight. I think we will win, but the executive branch has enormous power, and they are using all of it against America.
Right.
You know, and they're not. I mean, pick your poison, right? I mean, you know. Again, from climate change to the price of gasoline to here in Illinois. I mean, we have a invasive species of Asian carp in a river, right? It's now 30 miles from the Great Lakes. It's closest to Lake Michigan it's ever been. If it gets there, the entire ecosystem of the Great Lakes is destroyed. And
that's 25% of the world's fresh water, right?
25% of the world's fresh water. It's billions of dollars of industry, of tourism and fishing and stuff like that are at risk. And you know what? The Army Corps of Engineers stopped that project this week. So the project to stop those fish. So, you know, I mean, he's at war with states that didn't vote for him. He said to me and to millions and millions of, in fact, the great majority of Americans who live in states that didn't vote for him. By the way, there are lots of Republicans in those states. I mean, there are Republicans in California, right? He said, I'm not your president. I don't care about you. I'm going to declare war on you.
Let's talk about climate change, because that was something that you and I have discussed earlier, and it's one of those issues that has unfortunately been put to the back burner as we've been dealing with gas prices, and we've been dealing with tariffs and the war in the Middle East. But all of this is related because Donald Trump has given incredible tax breaks to these oil companies. He is paying wind farms not to actually, put up windmills because he has a big bone of contention with them. It's one of those weird things that he talks about all the time. Things that could make our world so much better. And he has declared war on clean energy and this technology that not only improves our planet, prevents things like extreme fires and droughts, but also creates a lot of jobs in states like yours and mine, Michigan, Illinois. Those jobs are not of his concern, but you were talking about the impact of Asian carp in Illinois. I'm currently in Colorado, where there is an extreme drought. The Colorado River is at record lows. This is the Dillon Reservoir, a couple hours from Denver. There's very little hope because there was such little snow melt over, because we are seeing drier and drier winters. What are we going to do, Edwin? Because this has so many impacts on people, not just in our country, but in the world. We're one of the biggest emitters of greenhouse gases. We have a president who doesn't believe in climate change, who is trying to destroy the National Forest Service, people who put out all of these wildfires. He's trying to seize our public lands for private, exploitation. What are some of the things that we can do until Donald Trump is out of power? Because this is impacting all of us, and especially impacting a lot of our states.
Susan, there is very little we can do while he is in power. And that is just, sadly, that is an absolute fact. I talked to a man named Peter Gluck. He runs the Pacific Institute. He is the world's leading expert on water and water systems and what it means. And look, we have the technology We have the technology
Right.
to not have these problems.
Right.
We have the technology to have enough water in the right places. We can do this. It's a political question. It's not a technical question. So the answer is, as long as you have a president who is in a feedback loop where he says, I'm going to take a legacy industry that's damaging the planet, oil and gas, and I'm going to protect it by giving it federal subsidies and tax breaks, and by putting out of business those who would move us to a better time. I mean, it's sort of like saying to Henry Ford, you know what, I'm going to pay you not to have an assembly line because I have friends in the horse business.
Right.
We are not going to let cars come to America. But the thing is, Susan, the rest of the world will do something. The planet.
We've ceded the electric vehicle industry to China.
Right. So again, while Donald Trump is president, we are seeing in foreign policy, but also now in global leadership on the economy. And I mean that the economy and the environment, but the future will be invented somewhere else. The future will be invented somewhere else. We may even see it with AI, where he spent, where we are spending an enormous amount of our private capital on AI in America. China may win that too, for two reasons. Not because they have better scientists, and not even because they have better strategies, but because we can't make up our mind, right? Because the Defense Department says you can't use Anthropic because they won't let me use their tools to automate the killing of everybody in the world. So they may be the biggest AI firm in America, but nobody can touch them. Oh, wait, maybe you can. No, you can't. Right? We can't make up our mind about who's being bribed big enough in the administration.
They want to pick winners and losers.
Yes, and because those billionaires who funded it are so arrogant that they are saying in community after community after community, we are going to build this huge infrastructure for this new industry. We don't need to tell you how you're going to benefit from it. We don't need to tell you what our plans are. We are going to ram it down your throats. And Americans quite correctly are saying, no, sir, the future is not going to be determined by you and your little technology billionaires. It's going to be determined through a democratic process. So come and talk to us, and don't send us some third, fourth party shell company to buy like 1 billion acres and not tell us what you're doing with our grid so that we can't turn on our refrigerators. I mean, so we are going to lose the ability to determine the future for the world. That ability is going to go somewhere else. And if the planet's going to be saved from climate change, it's going to happen because the rest of the world is going to lead that. And they're going to get all the benefits from leading it. We will not. So you ask me, what can we do while this terrible man is in the White House? First, kick his Congress out so that we can start to pass some better laws. But we can't pass any laws. He'll veto everything. But we can at least limit some of his damage, cut some of the money that might go to some things he would do. It's going to be brutal. Budgets have to be passed with his signature. We have to be willing to shut down the government. We have to be willing to hold him accountable. But we can't fix this problem while he's there, Susan. We can't. It's just naive to think we can. And people go, well, why won't the Democrats do anything? And people have to understand that it matters who's the president.
It does. It does. But next year, if Democrats are able to take control of both the House and the Senate, there can be more accountability. We can stop his nominees. And all of that is vitally important. And so let's leave this on a little more of a hopeful note if we can, which is we have less than 80 days until the November midterms. And we are seeing a groundswell of people who are sick and tired of Donald Trump, even if they voted for him or they didn't vote at all in 2024 because they decided, oh, both sides are the same. Now people are seeing the data centers going up in their backyard. They're seeing the price at the pump. They're seeing tariffs impacting how much they're paying for school supplies. People are tired of Donald Trump. They don't like what he's done. And so, Edwin, I do have some hope about what people will do in November.
I mean, forgive me, being honest about what a terrible president this guy is being honest about the damage he's doing, being honest about the fact that the Republican Party is complicit in all that damage doesn't make me hopeless. On the contrary, that sharing this has made a difference. I mean, he's gone underwater, 30 points since his election? I mean, Americans are seeing it, right? And they're seeing it in part because even though he's censoring the press at every opportunity, we are getting the story out. And it's important to tell the truth. And Americans are making up their mind. I'm quite happy about this. We will. It's going to take a long time. You can't fix it overnight. You can stop him from making it worse by taking back Congress, and then you can start to repair things when we get our government back. But he's had complete help from the Supreme Court. Not complete help. After all, this week they did say, you know what? You are an adjudicated sexual predator and what was the other thing he was done? And slanderer, right? Those are the things that he had to pay Eugene Carroll for. And he is out of appeals. He is done. We gave him every opportunity, ran the process, so he will forever be a convicted sexual predator. That's who that man is. And he had every chance, and more than chances than any other American's ever gotten, to have that reheard and delayed. Time's run out. He's paid her the money he has to pay her. All that's good in him. He's beginning to be held accountable. Thank God for Eugene Carroll. She had a lot of courage, that woman.
She does. She has faced so many threats and so much harassment, and she has persevered through it all. And beat him.
Yes, and every American is going to follow in her footsteps, cast our vote, whether we have to crawl over glass or stare down the guys with the zippy gloves, But we're going to cast our votes, and we're going to start to throw these terrible people out.
Absolutely, and I think you make an excellent point, Edwin, in that we cannot shy away from how dire our situation is right now. As a news outlet, we're not here just to tell you what you want to hear. We have to talk about these absolutely horrific problems and what Donald Trump is doing and be unflinching about it. But we also are in this fight with you, and there is hope for November. But even if we win the Senate and we win the House by a huge margin, this is just the start of our fight. We're not going to sit here and tell you, right on day one in January, Donald Trump is going to be held to account. He'll be hauled off in handcuffs. We'll have Medicare for all. Everything's going to be great. This is going to be a long, hard fight. And we're gearing up for it, but we're here with you. And we appreciate that you are looking to independent media like us, like Edwin's Substack, it's Democracy Stupid, or here at Lincoln Square, because we promise to always tell you the truth, but we also promise that we'll be there for the fight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. And these are tough times.
These are great times, Susan. These are great times.
It is a time where you see what you're made of, made of, and what the country is made of. But when I look around at everyone who showed up for the No Kings protests, those are the people I want to fight with.
Donald Trump would have had bone spurs, let's see, in the Revolutionary War, in the Civil War, in World War II, right? Yeah. There isn't a cause he would have ever fought for, right?
No, the only thing he will fight for is for himself and his wealth.
But all of us get to say, here's the challenge that is as vital to America as the Revolutionary War, as the Civil War, as vital to the world as World War II. What side are you on, and we're willing to step up? And I am grateful to be given that choice and to know that I can look in the mirror knowing I've made it.
Yeah. Edwin, thank you so much for being here, and really looking forward to your show on Friday with Amanda Littman from Run for Something.
Yeah, it'll be great.
Yeah, that should be a great conversation. I know that they've had a really great run this primary season, and that will be a great look at November again.
Yep.
Great. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Susan.